Good Monday morning, everyone. Here we go. Brand new week, but continuing story. And I don't know if you saw Friday's show or not, but here's where we left off. And I'm going to pick right up because I promised that I would do that. I'm on a train on the border of Romania in 1989, taking Bibles and other Christian materials into the underground and persecuted church of Romania at the time. That terribly harsh dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu, was in charge of Romania, trying to stamp out Christians. And Joe had asked me if I would go with him, working with the underground seminary, actually, ministering to the churches to take in Christian materials to them, something the government was totally against. And I'm on the train and the guard reaches into my suitcase that only has a thin layer of clothes on the top of it. And he reaches down into it. I know his hands are on that material. And then in Romanian, which I do not speak, he starts yelling and running down the hallway of that train, which they had already dismantled and taken the panels off and everything. They are looking desperately to make sure no one takes in anything like that. And here come the soldiers running down the aisle, armed with rifles, and I am just praying like crazy. Now, how did we get into that situation? I told you part of it, but the back of it is we had trained in Vienna for about 4 days and prepared meticulously before going into Budapest, Hungary, to get on the train into Romania. And now those guards are coming, and I, I had been told that at the most they would confiscate, that we would probably not be harmed as Americans, but that they would confiscate our material. And so, in one sense, our trip would be for nothing. And we just did not want to see that happen. When the armed soldiers got in, and now it's very crowded in this little train compartment. And here's and by the way, oh, let me back up one. This is a very, very important part. The title for this last week and this week is Amazing Encounters with God. Amazing encounters with God. And I'm talking about ones I have had personally. And actually, we're looking at some from the Bible, including last week we looked at Moses and some of his encounters with God. But this one's mine. This one's mine because I saw an amazing thing happen right then. And I will always know it came from my Father in heaven, from my God. And what happened there was they're talking like crazy in Romanian and in very rapid voice. And I'm thinking, Joe and I are just sitting there. And then all of a sudden, the guard that had come running down, armed, starts speaking to me in English. And I go, wow, what happened? Why that first guard, who I know knows that we had Bibles and books and tapes, I know he knows. But the man who's speaking to me in English he says, you're not allowed to have 4 bags of coffee. And my eyes must have gotten so big because I did have 4 bags of coffee. We had that because we were taught that if worse came to very worse, we could bribe people with coffee. That there was such scarcity in Romania that would be very powerful to use. And what the first guard, why he had gotten so upset, was that he actually was looking out for us because each person going into Romania was allowed 2 pounds of coffee, and I had 4 pounds of coffee. And what he was trying to get across and what he wanted, he was so focused on that coffee that either he forgot or got distracted from the fact that we had Christian material with us. And he wanted, but his point was, he wanted this new guy to say to me, give your friend two of the bags. He can take his two in, and I can take my two in, and it would be okay. Now we had to pay a fee to get that coffee in, but that's okay because we were forced to buy Romanian money anyway. And so we did it. And I'll tell you, friends, this to me, when that was over and the guys left, the soldiers left, I about collapsed because it was such a tense scene. And God did one of two things. And I'll never know in this life which it was. Either that first soldier was a believer and he just overlooked. I mean, he intentionally forgot, let the Christian Bibles, let the Bibles go through. He either did that intentionally or God just blinded his eyes. I had read reports and have you ever read the book God Smuggler? The story of Brother Andrew, who was really set the stage for a lot of Bible smuggling into closed countries. And he tells the story repeatedly of how God just miraculously blinded the border guard's eyes. And I think that's what happened. I think I got to have that experience myself. But whatever the reason, I saw God work that day. And whenever my faith gets weak, I go back and I relive that moment. I hope this does the same for you as you are watching today. I would encourage you to remember times in your life where you had an amazing encounter with God. Maybe it was an answer to prayer. Maybe it was a healing. Maybe it was some other miracle. I would love to hear your story. I'd love for you to share it on the show. And if you would just write us and let us know, I would be honored to let you tell your story of an amazing encounter with God. But I had mine that day, and I will never, ever forget it. It's built my faith over the years. So we went into a border town, and I'm going to continue this story tomorrow because I actually told this next story that what happened to me the next day as we arrived in a city called Timișoara. And Timișoara is where the Romanian revolt began when many people were gunned down coming out of a prayer service. And I forget how many tens were killed in cold blood. And that started the Romanian Revolution. And while we went into Timișoara, and two amazing encounters with God happened. And I'm going to tell you those stories tomorrow. I can't wait to tell them to you. I hope you can't wait to hear them. See you tomorrow.